Hello, everyone. Today I wanted to talk about a director by the name of Frank Borzage, who at one time was one of the most highly respected directors in the world in the 1920s and 1930s, but he's been largely forgotten. My my channel has sort of evolved into trying to unearth some of the most forgotten, overlooked, underrated movies, in this case, director, and the movies that he made. It's a lot of fun to do that. I don't think I've ever made a video yet about a commercial filmmaker. Maybe I did make one on the Hitchcock Universal UHD set. But if just a couple people are alerted to something that I'm enthusiastic about that has fallen under the radar, it's worth doing these kind of videos. And all this comes about by my reaction to History is Made at Night, which is no longer overlooked because it's out on the Criterion channel. Um, and my great delight with Borzage, I had seen some of Borzage's movies, but I'd forgotten him too and this is such a magnificent movie, and it has some great extras on it. And one of the great extras in this Criterion edition is a conversation between Peter Cowie and Herve Dumont um, on Borzage's life. It's about a 30-minute conversation. It's absolutely superb. There is no biography, full-fledged biography on Borzage in English. I did come across a study of his films from 1981, but Hervé Dumont did, writing in French, and this is the English translation, he did write a full-length study of Borzage, his life, subtitled The Life and Films of a Hollywood Romantic. It's got a foreword by Martin Scorsese. It's a very dense and comprehensive study of the films. You get very detailed synopsises, excellent articulation of the themes of Borzage. He was in the 1920s. He actually started as an actor, but at a very, very young age, he had success with a silent film called Humoresque in 1920. He was the first Photoplay Awards silent film of his won Best Picture. The Photoplay Awards are often seen as the genesis of the Academy Awards, and Borzage was the first person to receive the Best Director award. And he was renowned throughout the world. Dumont cites Soviet film theoreticians and French, and often was in polls taking of the best directors in the world in the 1930s. Borzage sometimes would top those polls. So it's kind of sad that he's been so forgotten. And part of the reason, I suppose, is his mystical romanticism. I don't know that romanticism will ever come back into vogue in the age of the internet, but certainly romanticism was part of silent films, and he was renowned for his poetic imagery, his mystical love stories. They were spiritual. All these love affairs. The ideal love. He believed in that concept. He believed in it very deeply, and this love would be constantly strewn with obstacles, whether they be cultural, personal obstacles, war, and that all these things would have to be overcome. He made one of his most famous silent films was called Seventh Heaven. Borzage was a Freemason. I have no knowledge or expertise on Freemasonry, but Dumont describes how there's different ladders in Freemasonry, and how Borzage's films sometimes correspond to that, and that you can reach a certain level of kind of a transcendent experience. In the 1930s, Borzage made a great many successful movies. He was the first really or at least one of the first, who made anti-Nazi films. They had to water down some of these specific references to Nazis because the studios, even though they were run by Jews, were very were very hesitant to criticize the Third Reich, and but Borzage saw that totalitarianism, fascism, as something that was inimical to human experience and to love and humanity. And so those films are Three Comrades, Immortal Storm are two of them that made a deep impression on me when I was growing up. And then after 1940, he kind of lost his way in his personal life. He was married to someone he was in fact deeply in love with, but she was not in love with him, and she sort of led her own life, and eventually the marriage began to crumble. And they were divorced in 1940, and Borzage started drinking. He didn't want to make pessimistic movies. He was not at home in film noir. He didn't like he never made gangster movies. He didn't like this dark side of life. He wanted to make optimistic, uplifting, spiritually uplifting movies. And in the post-war era, they definitely went out of style. Dumont does say that after 1940, he did make some commercially successful movies, very commercially successful, but they were not like personal projects. But there's two movies that Dumont identifies as masterpieces, and that's Till We Meet Again in 1944, and that's playing, there's a copy of that playing on YouTube. I only checked it out to see the quality of it, and I watched the first 5-10 minutes, and it is a watchable copy. I don't think that's ever been on, it may have been on DVD, never been on Blu-ray. And the other one is Moonrise, which came out on the Criterion Collection from 1948, which is sort of a film noir, but it's kind of Borzage's statement about film noir. I haven't purchased that yet. I will be getting that in the Barnes & Noble Criterion half price sale come July. But I did pick up some of his other films, and this one is Bad Girl. This is from 1931. And another one is far more famous, is A Farewell to Arms, and this is the adaptation of the Hemingway novel, changed quite dramatically. Both of these movies are pre-code, but the code was very strong as far as this Farewell to Arms was, because they had to make some drastic changes to mollify the code, the production code. There was a production code. It wasn't always, even before the code clamped down as too many, it was inimical to the American way of life, I guess, and a positive view of the American way of life. This starred Gary Cooper, Helen Hayes. I've seen this I saw this in the movie theater, and I remember, the only thing I can actually remember from the movie is the transcendence of the ending. It's a highly romantic and quite stunning ending. And another one is Disputed Passage. This is from 1939, and this stars Dorothy Lamour, Kim Tamaroff, and who is it? John Howard. John Howard is probably most famous is playing Bulldog Drummond. This is one of his major films that he, or at least A-list movie that he made. And then also 1940s Immortal Storm. This is with Jimmy Stewart and Margaret Sullivan. He made 4 movies with Margaret Sullivan. She's really the epitome of the ideal heroine of a Frank Borzage movie. Loretta Young, earlier in the decade, he made a few films with her. Also with Spencer Tracy. He was very early on in discovering the acting talents of Tracy, and Loretta Young made a great team together, as did Margaret Sullivan and Jimmy Stewart. And the Shop Around the Corner, I think, was released the same year in 1940. So, and Borzage comes back after Moonrise. He sort of leaves Hollywood behind. Like I say, he didn't feel in tune with the audiences. They didn't like his kind of movie. And then he came back and made China Gate with Victor Mature. He made a biblical epic with the Big Fisherman. Dumont says, although these films are not successes, they nevertheless have great touches of Borzage's talent. At any rate, I'm going to be watching these Borzage movies plus Moonrise, and hopefully, if I can think of something interesting to say about them, I'll make videos about them. But definitely, it's fun to find directors that you've lost track of through time, and then rediscovering them. And it's always one of the delights of the Blu-ray era. Okay, well, I'll wrap up this video. Again, any comments would be welcome. Thanks everybody for listening. I appreciate it. You guys take care, and I'll catch you next time.